Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Premier League predictions. They are back after an absence of last week. Firstly, just want to quickly say a massive thank you to those that have stuck with the channel since our rebranding. It's been very much appreciated, and we're going to carry on doing lots of neutral content, as well as obviously we are pushing towards doing a bit more Wolves content as well on the channel. But don't worry if you're not a Wolves fan, there is going to be plenty of general content like these Premier League predictions. So let's get into them and let's crack on. And we're going to start off by talking about, I've skipped one, Manchester United who take on Everton in the early kickoff. And I think this is going to be a really interesting game because two teams who will be feeling a little bit different after the last resort. Of course, Everton, a 10-man Everton fought resiliently against Tottenham to get a goal. And what a goal it was by Michael Keane, an absolute welly of a shot from 35 yards out. Man United, on the other hand, are probably feeling a bit deflated and probably need to come back with some absolute might at home at Old Trafford. It does set them up with the perfect chance to do so. We do know, obviously, that Man United look quite deflated and clearly the second team against Newcastle United. But I think in this game, they will look to dominate possession. They will look to, obviously put Everton under pressure. And it'll probably be an away performance, which we'll see typical of Sean Dyche. He will have to, really get the team together and defend well. But of course, we know that he can do that and he does it well. So I think this is really setting up for a really interesting game because of that reason. But I am going to give it marginally to the home team. I am going to say United do get the win. I just feel they're going to have some bounce back after the poor Newcastle result. Let's go on to speak about Villa taking on Forest. And it's another away game for Nottingham Forest. And let's be honest, Steve Cooper has been under a lot of pressure. It's been revealed by the owner that they are definitely going to stick with him for now. But there was kind of a little warning in there at the same time to kind of say, look, results haven't been good. It remains to be seen how long that the owner will stick with him. But he's got the backing for now. And I think that's all that matters for Steve Cooper. But they do come up against an Aston Villa team which are performing really well and really pushing on for European football. And the one thing that really goes against Forest more than anything, as I mentioned at the start, is that it is an away game. Forest have a really, really bad away form. I think if this was a home game, I probably would have gave Forest at least a point. But I think because it is another away game, I don't expect it to be, anything but a Villa win, especially with how high Villa are flying at the moment. So sadly, Forest fans, and joyfully for the Villa fans, I'm going to give it a 2-0 victory to Aston Villa. Let's move on to speak about two teams that are really flying high at the moment. Brentford taking on Newcastle United, and both will have European dreams. The European dreams for Newcastle United at the moment probably remain to be the Champions League. Brentford will have their eyes on any kind of European place, and it is a real possibility, especially when you look at maybe teams like Fulham, who have been obviously weakened this week with the ban to Mitrovic, which I'll speak about in more detail later on in the video. But I think stuff like that will give them a real rejuvenation. And of course, we saw Newcastle playing very well against Manchester United. They look to be hitting some real good form. The one thing that does go against them, though, that this is against Brentford. And we know Brentford can pull off some really good home performances. We actually saw them pull off a really good home performance earlier in the season against United. And Newcastle might have won 2-0, but Brentford actually won 4, if I remember correctly. So I think this is going to be a really tough game. I think it could honestly go either way. I think I am going to go the points to be shared, though. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. Let's move on to speak about Fulham, who I did just previously mention the big news that has come out about them. Mitrovic banned for 8 games, as well as the manager serving a 2-game touchline ban. A lot of debate, actually, whether, it should have been more or should have been less. People seem really divided on this one. It does look like the FA aren't happy with the verdict either. It's been revealed that they will look to push for more. One positive thing for Fulham is that the 8-game ban was basically inclusive of the game that Fulham have already played. So if it does remain an 8-game ban, it's only 7 games from now. It's probably not good news, though. It means he's out for the majority of the rest of the season. West Ham, on the other hand, they're very much in the relegation battle, and they're going to be fighting on all thoughts. I think that's the right word I'm looking for. I'm not too sure if it is actually, but they've got basically what I'm trying to say. They've got the Battle of Europe. They've also got the Premier League to balance as well. And as much as they'll set their eyes on having some European glory, I think staying in the Premier League will be their main focus. Obviously, if they can get a result on the game that some of you may have already watched, they've obviously got a game tonight. You know, if they get a result there and a result against Fulham at the weekend, I think it will set them on really good stead, obviously with games in hand as well, still on the other teams to basically crawl out of that relegation battle. This one, though, I am actually going to still give it to the home team, despite the fact that they are without Mitrovic. I think Fulham will still have a strong end to the season. And I think just because Fulham are the home team, Craven Cottage, it's not going to be an easy game. I am going to give it narrowly to Fulham. I'm going to go 1-0 in this fixture. Guys, just a quick one from me before we get back to the video. If you are enjoying the video, please do me a massive favour. Hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get back to those Premier League predictions. Guys, the one thing that will change about Premier League predictions is when it is Wolves. I will be speaking about them in more detail on the full match preview that I will be doing for Wolves. So check that one out. It will be coming out tomorrow if you're a Wolves fan or even a Chelsea fan as well, because I will be speaking about both clubs in that short preview for you. Let's move on then to the next team. We're going to be speaking about Spurs, who take on Brighton. And Brighton, once again, they're going to be in massive confidence going into this. Another team that is really hunting down Europe and maybe, who knows, even a top 4 place. Spurs, on the other hand, you know, we know Spurs are just in, again, it's very similar to Brighton. They're after a top 4 place, but the confidence is not flying high. They're looking real disarray at the moment, falling apart, can't seem to keep hold of a result. Obviously, the loss to a 10-man to a 10-man Everton, obviously the game on Monday night. I think what we really saw, which was worrying about Tottenham there, is just they haven't got that killer instinct. Everton have gone down to 10 men. I feel other teams, such as even Brighton, to be honest, probably would have gone hunting for that second goal and probably would have got it. Spurs actually sat back and tried to defend a 1-0 lead. And I think that really does show the kind of mindset that Spurs are in at the moment. If they do manage to get into the top 4, you feel like they're going to do it by crawling over the line rather than actually sprinting towards the line. I think when it comes to this game, I'm not really expecting much from Spurs, to be honest. I think Brighton will dominate. And I do actually think Brighton will be the victors. Fancy Spurs to get a goal, but I'm going to give it 3-1 to Brighton. Let's move on to speak about a massive relegation clash. Leicester, who are taking on Bournemouth at the weekend. And this is a game where both teams could really do with the 3 points. It's one of those which everyone calls a massive 6-pointer for whoever can get the win. It's going to be obviously a hard game for both teams. Obviously, Leicester at the moment still without a manager. Bournemouth, they're showing some resilience at times, but their form, they haven't really found consistency with the form. Sometimes they can defend really well and get a result and really look a good team, even when they don't get results, such as obviously the game against Arsenal, where they did obviously end up giving away their lead, but they did still look a really good team. Other times they just seem to be falling really flat. I think Leicester can be said the same, though. They do have some promising players. They have some promising moments, but they're just falling flat again. So it's really going to, I think this one depends on which team actually turns up on the day. And I think for that reason, it's really hard to predict. I might just give it to Leicester purely just because they are the home team. I do maybe think that maybe with Brendan Rodgers going, some fans have wanted this for some time. So going to the King Power, some of the fans might feel a weight has been lifted. They might really get behind the team. Let's just say that Leicester are going to win this one 2-1. I do think it's going to be a really close game now. Let's move on to Southampton, who take on Man City now. And for Man City, they cannot afford to give up another point really in this title race, you know, especially to a team like Southampton. But Southampton won't be prepared just to die yet. You know, they really do need that result in the Premier League, the table, they sit bottom, and it's not, they're starting to be, even if it is just a couple of points, a little bit of a gap pulling away from them. So I don't think they can really afford to have too many more back-to-back losses. Although it's not going to be an easy task. They are taking on a Manchester City team who were needing to have the maximum points really to challenge Arsenal for the title now. And I think for that reason, I think City will come with some might, and I think they will get the job done quite convincingly. I'm going to say 4-0 to Manchester City. Let's talk about another relegation 6-pointer, and it's two teams that are going to be feeling good after the most recent results. Leeds getting the massive win against Nottingham Forest, and Palace, obviously Roy Hodgson returning to the dugout and getting the win as well in Palace's last game. I think this is going to be a really close game for both teams, and I do expect there to be goals as well. I think both teams will really just go out and attack this, use their attacking might that we know that they've got. And really, I think this is just going to be a really, really interesting game. I think, for that reason, I'm going to say there's going to be goals. I'm going to say the points going to be shared, and I'm going to go for a straight 2-2 in this fixture. Let's move on to what I think is the last fixture of the weekend. We're going to be speaking about Liverpool, who take on Arsenal, the title contenders. Liverpool looked a bit, not very good at all, did they, in that result that they got a 0-0 against Chelsea. You do feel if they're going to get something against Arsenal, they're going to have to turn up a little bit better than what they did against Chelsea. Arsenal really looking like some team that now really are in this title race and deserving to be in it. They're finishing teams off quite convincingly. They look to have some real attacking might with Gabriel Jesus back. And they do look to have a complete midfield as well, which you really cannot say at the moment for Liverpool. Liverpool, it's clear that they need some investment in the summer, some real investment as well. And you do just wonder with FSG, are Liverpool going to get that investment? Well, they've still got the rest of the season to get through. They still obviously want to finish that by at least getting some form of Europe, which is by no means guaranteed at the moment. And therefore, that reason, they're going to need to start getting some results, even against teams such as Arsenal. But I've got to be honest, I think Arsenal just look too strong for them. Arsenal don't have a really strong record at Anfield, to be honest, but this is a very much different Arsenal team, and it's a very much different Liverpool team. So I think for that reason, I think Arsenal get the job done. My last prediction for the week is a 3-1 Arsenal win. Guys, if you have enjoyed the video, as always, do me a massive favour, hit that like button, subscribe, and Premier League predictions will be back every week. So make sure you tune into the next one. Take care. Have good weekends. Enjoy your Easter break as well, if you do get one. Take care. Have a good one. Goodbye.